Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Daily Crypto Byte. Today is July 13th, Tuesday. And yeah, just another day in the crypto markets. Not too much exciting price action. We are getting some exciting news to start the day today. So we'll cover that first, and then we'll go into some of the technicals because we had highlighted some patterns earlier in the week, and they're starting to kind of play out a little bit. So we'll dive into that. But CJ, how are you doing today, my friend?
Patterns are starting to play out, or they're just breaking down. I guess however you want to articulate it is up to you. But I'm doing well. I really am excited for this news that you have to discuss today because it's a really big deal. We've been talking about getting ETFs in the space since I've joined, right? Like the Winklevoss twins tried to do it all the way back in 2016, 2017. Obviously, their proposal was rejected. Then all throughout the 2018 bear market, we had the Van Eck, the gold ETF individuals that wanted to propose the Bitcoin ETF. No luck there, but now we're getting some really, really interesting news out of BYN Mellon. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I think this has the potential to bring an ETF to market in the not too distant future.
Yes. Yeah. So they're partnering with Grayscale, or they're working to link up with Grayscale to bring a Bitcoin ETF to the market. So like CJ said, this is something that's been, in talks in the crypto space since, all the way back in like 2016 when this idea was first proposed. The real reason it hasn't really happened is because of, the lack of a general price discovery for Bitcoin itself, and also kind of a lack of regulation or regulational clarity, I guess you could say, in the space. But now that we have Grayscale, who's been, all over the news in the last week or so with that lockup coming to an end, and now they're kind of continuing that media headwind today with this BNY Mellon news. I think this could potentially be big. What do you think, CJ? Do you think this is going to come to fruition? And if so, what could this mean for crypto?
I think it's going to mean real institutions getting into crypto, things like small family offices that have been buying GPDC. Now they'll have the ability to buy ETFs. I think this just brings more a broader accessibility, or an ETF would bring massive broader accessibility to financial markets and financial institutions specifically. That's huge. That's something that we've been talking about for years now in the crypto space, and would be a tremendous catalyst for price action. So it's a work in progress. I don't think this is something where you can just flip the switch and you have, a massive flow of capital come in the space. It's going to take a while. There's going to be a lot of kind of lead up and momentum into it. But I think it's just another stepping stone that further legitimizes Bitcoin, and will be ultimately an inevitability, because I think Wall Street finally sees how much money there is to be made here with various products, including ETFs. And so if Grayscale can provide that, that's going to be just even better for the market. So I'm pretty optimistic, and looking to hear more.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely optimistic as well. I mean, this news coming from Grayscale, I mean, they're obviously, even with this recent slide in prices, they're still the largest cryptocurrency asset manager. They still have over 20 billion AUM. So they're a massive company. And I think you're right, CJ. What we've been waiting for in this second half of the market cycle is, another influx of this institutional capital. We talk a lot about the CMF, the Chaikin money flow, and you were pointing out how we kind of peaked in terms of new money flowing into the space very early in the year. And I think that was the realization that we had institutions entering the market at the beginning of this market cycle. They started exiting and selling into the retail hands, and that was reflected in the CMF turning down. But now this could be the catalyst that we've been waiting for, CJ. This could be that catalyst that brings in that, not only that institutional capital, but also that kind of middle ground that you mentioned, that family office money that's kind of been waiting for an investment vehicle for Bitcoin. And this could be it. So encouraging stuff. But, so far, like you said, it's going to take a while for this to get priced into the market. So far, we're not really seeing any movement in terms of Bitcoin price action. But you brought to our attention this sort of wedge formation that was beginning to appear on the Bitcoin chart. And it's looking like we may get that breakdown. Any change in thoughts over the last 24 hours with this Bitcoin technical formation here?
I'll be honest, it's not great. it's not so great. I mean, you have a positive divergence in things like the RSI and, like you mentioned, the CMF. But when you look at it in just a raw candlestick formation, we noted the symmetrical triangle yesterday, and we're starting to break down and we're starting to create another lower low below 32K or below 33K. So while it's not hugely significant as of now, we're definitely not leaning in the right direction, and it doesn't make me feel comfortable from a bullish perspective. Now, remember, one entry trigger I love to use is with the Bollinger Bands. And of course, that teal line that you can see on the chart behind us is the lower Bollinger Band on Bitcoin on the 1 day. And so when you see that band turning in the direction of the trend, which in this case would be downward since we're in a downtrend, when you see that and you have price close below the lower band, that is an entry to go in the direction of the trend. In this case, that would be an entry trigger for a short trade. And so we're close to that. We're close to a trigger for a short trade, which of course, not the greatest from the bullish perspective, but you know, it's going to be interesting. We might get this leg down to 28K based on the current posture of the trend, because there's so much hesitance to really step back into this market from a bullish perspective. I think so many people are waiting for 20K, 28K. So we'll see if it comes to fruition. But I mean, that breakdown from yesterday is not completely what you want to see.
Yeah, no, not at all. And also, you know, today we have the Dow retreating slightly, even though it's been really hot. But that inflation report that came out kind of overshadowed a lot of the strong earnings reports that we saw coming out today. So I think we're starting to see kind of, even with some somewhat bullish fundamental indicators here, people are still not ready to enter that risk on mentality, even in the legacy market. So I'm not too sure what that means for Bitcoin specifically, but you know, I think that the fact that people aren't necessarily willing to, you know, enter into these risk on positions means that Bitcoin's just not ready for that next leg up yet. But an asset that a lot of people have been talking about in our room, CJ, because of the fact that it's breaking down a bit more significantly than Bitcoin, also breaking through a critical level, is Ethereum. ETH officially broke through that 2K level this morning. A lot of people in our room were talking about the possibility of that happening over the night, because of the fact that, you know, we broke below this 200 period smooth moving average that we've been harping on for the longest time, as kind of a, you know, an indication that at first we were overbought here because of this, you know, massive positive divergence here. We snapped back down. And as you can see back here, you know, this 200 smooth moving average was great at acting as support for Ethereum's price action. But now for the first time since, you know, just a few weeks ago, we're below this 200 smooth moving average, which is a bit concerning in my opinion. One thing I do want to quickly point out before I pass it over to CJ is this level that I have my eye on is 1886. We've reached this level before. It got established as a TD critical level. And, you know, it's pretty interesting to note that when we saw that really sharp sell-off about 3 weeks ago, we hit this price a few times in just a matter of, you know, 3 or 4 days with some tremendous sell pressure. And this level held up. So I think that in order to break that that approximately 1800 level, it would take some very significant bearish momentum. And I honestly don't anticipate that happening. So the way I'm planning on playing this is, you know, putting in limit buy orders right around this level, possibly 1850. I think if those get filled, that would be a very, not only a great dollar cost average trade, but also a potentially profitable trade in the interim, because I do think that approximately 1800 level is going to hold up over the next couple of weeks. So interesting stuff going on with ETH. But CJ, do you have any thoughts on the current price action for ETH?
I agree with you. The one thing that I would say, and the way that I kind of think about it, is we talk about a potential of one leg down to, like with Bitcoin, 25 or 26K, right? That's been the critical level. I think if we were to extrapolate that concept onto ETH, the critical level is 1500. And if you were to go back with Bitcoin again, I would say, you know, 30 to 29K, you know, our previous low, that's pretty much an equivalent of Ethereum, about that level you mentioned, 1800. So those are the two critical levels that I think are going to be great macro buys, right? But for now, in the short term, with this bearish price action, I definitely think we could potentially hit them here if buyers are still reluctant to step in the market.
Yeah, absolutely, CJ. Then that is one concern right now is, we talked yesterday about the lackluster volume in the space. There just isn't there. We're starting to see a little bit of sell pressure today, but the buy pressure is just not there. There's just no one really putting in any buy orders right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how far ETH could potentially fall before we start to see some of that buy pressure come in. I think, at least over the next couple of weeks, at least over the next week or so, I do expect that 1800 level to hold up. But I agree. If it breaks that level, CJ, we could be in for some pain, and that could be potentially a retest of some critical levels around 1650 or even 1500, like you said. So interesting stuff here for ETH. If it did get down to those levels, I would be very content with entering a trade there for the same reason I was, content exiting my position up here, because we'd have such a strong divergence from this moving average that, I think it would be likely that it snaps back. So that is something that's in the cards. We're aware of that possibility. And if that does hit, I don't know about you, CJ, but I would definitely be buying.
Yep. The moving average, AKA a magnet for price.
That's right. I forgot you coined that term.
I did not. It's just a good analogy that's been in many books. So.
Yes. Well, I don't think we have any doge of the day today, considering the current precarity around ETH's price action. But anything you want to mention before we wrap up this episode today, CJ?
Not particularly. Just kind of maintaining patience. I think now is a great time to really hone in on the education and mastering your skills with whatever it is that you want to do in life, because you're not going to have as many distractions when we're in things like the bull market. So things like studying technical analysis, studying fundamental analysis are, I think, very important in these boring points, because there's very few distractions. And if you'd like to get some of our information and some of our own research and trade ideas, you can go to marketrebellion.com/try crypto in that link below. And you can try the first month for just $1. Monty and I are in the crypto trading room in the chat, basically around 18 to 20 hours a day. So feel free to ask us questions all throughout that time. Also, thank you to Voyager, my favorite cryptocurrency brokerage, for sponsoring this show. Don't forget, you can get 9% interest on USDC for just holding it in there, as well as 12% interest on DOT, and trade entirely commission-free. So we really appreciate that. Don't forget, if you decide to sign up for Voyager, use the promo code REBEL25, and they will give you $25 free in Bitcoin when you fund the account with $100. So if you're looking for some place to trade, definitely recommend Voyager. But that's all I got. I'll leave it to you, Monty.
Oh, very nice job wrapping up today's episode, CJ. That's all I got as well. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, with another episode of the Daily Crypto Byte. Also tomorrow is our long-form weekly member webinar. You can ask any question you want. We'll do some TA for you guys, and we're happy to look at any asset you guys would like to look at. That's included if you want to sign up for just $1 for the first month. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, with another Daily Crypto Byte. And have a good day. See you tomorrow.